I can find.
There we go. So now it's live. So I was just thinking, yeah, since you know Caddy, or you care about Caddy, or you told me it was cool, we could do a little jam session on Caddy.
Sure. It was just the easy solution when I when I needed all of the things.
Needed all the things. Well, I thought we could make it do the FCGI or WSU CGI or something. And I got this demo box that right now I thought the easiest thing would be make it do what the bog standard NGINX or Apache things do, and give me a web root that I can drop a PHP file in that runs.
Right.
And then if I can get that to PHP's FCGI mechanism, or whichever one Caddy likes, then after that, picking a Django mechanism or one of the Node.js things, or possibly even then setting up rewrite/proxy rules and sending my requests to all kinds of like microservices in, you know, whatever language I feel like running, you know, in my house, that is very legacy Perl things and modern stuff that's now written in Go. Go makes that stuff very, very, very easy. So let's see if I turn on screen share and we'll just like look at my node here.
Because I think where I'm using it, I think I'm proxying it back. I suspect I'm using Apache here. I'm trying to remember. You know, it should be easy to tell, right? Yeah.
Well, like visit the site and look at the headers. Unless you turn those headers off, you know,
it's all buried in layers of automation.
Oh, that's how you do it. So, well, this thing is, there's no Caddy in my Debian repo. So the first thing is to put a bunch of shit into my system. Just run a bunch of commands here without thinking about them too much. I'm just grabbing all this crap from the Caddy server's website. Like, go to stable releases. I'm going to install it. It's probably on my system somewhere. I wonder if it's auto started. Yeah, automatically started on some internal port, 2019. Doesn't Caddy know it's 2025? And then it also looks like it started on port 80. So if I go to visit that website that was not responding, congratulations, Caddy works.
There you go.
Caddy's ready to serve your shit. Point some stuff. I've done that. Go to var HTML and put something there. All right, let's see if that actually works. Well, I have something there.
It's probably that index page.
It ain't this Caddy index page. It's a index page for a different demo box completely.
Where's your Caddy file?
Etsy Caddy, it says. Etsy Caddy file. Replace the shit. Oh, because this is like the default.
Caddy.
And it says user share Caddy is their default, and it's just a static file server. Hey, that's cool. So I should really be able to just do something like demo.eboshio.com.
Yeah.
And then why does it say root star, I wonder? Well,
I don't know what the star was for, but I have the same thing in one that I have. I don't remember.
To the internet. Oh, whoops, it's not on my screen share. Root matcher. Set the root path of the site. This does not automatically enable something. You got to use file server or fast CGI root path. Path is the path to use for the site root. Prior to this, argument could be confused for the matcher token if it began, so it was necessary to something something.
We had to make it a star because it had to be a star.
But if you said something else, like you could just say root something. Change the site. Change the site so you can match like a prefix path and say, oh, I'm going to route this prefix into another directory. So you could do something like everybody is in opt Adocio Caddy demo web root. That's where everything goes. And then do you think they do like strictness order or top down?
I believe that it's strictness order because I have more specifics below the star in my config where I'm doing reverse proxies. So
I'm going to do star goes to some normal web root, and then foo/star goes to a directory called foo root. Why not? Which doesn't exist at the moment. You think I got to say in the root to do the thing? Let's do file server.
Yeah, you got to do file server.
So you always have to say file server to enable that.
And I think gzip isn't turned on by default. So if you wanted it, you got to enable gzip or encode gzip.
Do I have
if you're into that?
Reload. No, I don't gzip anything. I think the stuff is empty too.
I mean, for doing gzip over the wire.
This is what I was looking for. So this is what I expected it to show me. Because in that Caddy demo web root, I have index HTML, which is totally empty. Whoa, man, I'm so terrible at this. Demo title.
I just do cheat HTML and leave all the tags out.
You know, man, I know you can do that, and I just can't bring myself to not write something that looks sort of okay, you know, just a nerd like that. So there's my demo. There is an index.php file.
And you'll notice you have HTTPS support.
Say again?
You notice you had HTTPS support.
Well, I went to, oh, it already has HTTPS enabled. I didn't even do shit, dude.
Check your certificate on it.
Fuck me, really? Well, let's check something really quick.
See if you get a redirect. You get a redirect.
Okay, so if you go to this, and I didn't set up shit. This is usually a couple of lines that I fiddle with in NGINX and a couple of lines I fiddle with in Apache. I do add config lines in traffic also because I don't know if it does SSL by default, but you add one line and boom, you're done. You know,
right.
Or mostly boom, you're done. But it's not, I added 0 lines on this one, and it gives me like a 308 permanent redirect to HTTPS. It doesn't do, I bet I'd have to do something for that, like HTST certificate pinning or whatever that is. And there I go. Match the cert.
And you have a Let's Encrypt cert already dynamically, completely, 100% already done.
Wow.
Because it's doing it, you know, it can do the domain verification, so it's set up the
right after I did the reload of this config. I did a reload, I hit the site, I got an SSL protocol error. Then I flipped over to this terminal window to look at something. Then I went back to the thing and I hit and I took the S out of the URL and I went, oh, okay, I'll just go back to HTTP. I hit go and it worked. And I didn't even notice that it had been redirected back to add SSL.
It did it all for you.
Magic sauce, dude.
That is why Caddy server is my #1 recommendation for small projects like this, because that you're going to use Let's Encrypt. It took all the work away. You didn't do anything.
Yeah, that was pretty handy. You know,
I mean, if you need custom stuff, you can do more custom stuff. You can do you can do sans, right?
Well,
so you can add additional names to it. You can do
so
wildcards, lots of things, but I forget how to do wildcards. But the I think I have, no, my example doesn't have any wildcards. But
well, that's like we're getting ahead of ourselves. So it looks like it knows how to handle index HTML, no problem. And I went to foo root, and then if I go to just /foo, it gives me a normal old 404. But then if I'd say /something, no, that doesn't work. If I add the trailing slash, it also gives me a 404. This is for that /foo pattern I thought we were going to match.
yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see.
It says root /foo/ goes to,
right,
which does exist.
It might have to be something other than root. I'm not sure. Let's see.
Do some typing there.
Yeah, you have to do a handle path. I think. Or maybe no, that's for the thing. So hang on. No, I'm reading the wrong thing. Yeah, I think you have to do a handle path on that.
Let's see what GPT says. It says I do root star pointing to web root, then say file server, and then, oh, here's how you turn HTTPS off, incidentally, if you do, which I don't. And then you make this directive @ symbol, some path, foo/.
And that can be more complicated, longer things. There's lots of ways that the handlers can be.
So @foo is the name that I make up. Path probably seems like a specific keyword I have to use. And then I say blah, blah, blah. The path I want it to pretend that it is. So let's do root that thing and then file server. I wonder why it makes me put that below the file server directive. I don't like how that works. Foo root. Then I'll say root @foo. Oh, I've done that incorrectly. It's going to be @foo path is foo/star. That feels like some kind of variable thing, so I'll put it at the top. And then I can say @root foo goes to foo. Caddy filey, caddy file. Then what do I do? System reload.
Do you have to reload it? I don't remember if you have to reload it or if it dynamically does it. Mine was all buried in Docker, so it was constantly restarted. So I don't.
It says I have to reload.
Does it? Okay.
Well, here's demo working just like we want. /foo gives me a 404. /foo/ doesn't give me what I want. /foo/index also says HT. It gives me a 404.
So for mine, they all have handle blocks. Like where you just have @foo defining the handle. There's actually a handle block for @foo. So like handle @user home. Or handle actually, though, I guess my reverse proxies are similar to that. They're just defined with a block. Because that handle is your definition of, it's effectively like an alias to say, okay, when I drop this into a config, it does these things.
Yeah, this one that it just. So I asked it about as GPT, what the hell's handle root or handle something. I said, don't I need handle blocks? So pro tip there, right? Let's go back into this stupid thing and get rid of the at foo and say, now this feels natural-ish to me. Where I'm putting my, more strict path first. And then it's
all of my more strict paths are after, so I don't know if it matters.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, and then in these handle blocks, you have to say file server for both, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, because like one of mine, I have browse turned on so that it shows, so that you get directory browsing.
Oh, auto index. How did you do that?
In that it's just file server browse, and then I have some additional extensions to hide dot files from it. I forget why I did this, but I have a reason.
You just say file
server space browse.
So that's like add options index plus option something plus option something in the Apache universe. So this feels like it should work like we intended. Reload that bad boy. Hey, there's my foo index file, just like I wanted. And then temp doesn't work because I actually don't have that path here. So let's make one called temp root, and then let's touch a thing called a.text and b.text and see what we get. Well, I was expecting to get an auto index. Oh, okay. So if you just say /temp, I don't get it. But if I say /sum,
the star, does it just need the slash? Yeah,
it needs the slash. Then it treats it right.
Which means that you need something different in your expression, right?
Well, I think I wouldn't say my handle path is /foo/star. It would
your config up. So the ones that I have like that, instead of temp/star, it's temp star.
But it still points to a full path here, the root.
Yeah. No, because like the ones I have are reverse proxies on the other end of it. But I think it's your pattern matcher. The pattern matcher is requiring the slash. Like you could make instead, you could make a
good. And I took that slash out. So now
downside is it probably would match like temp anything.
Well, if it's saying temp, and then it's automatically adding the trailing slash when I go there. But now if
I'm giving you a directory.
Temp3, it says 404.
Right. Okay.
Which I guess is what I expect because there's no 404 file in there, or there's no file named 3.
And there's if
I wanted one of the files in there, I'd have to add the slash and then say a.text, which it delivers.
Yeah.
But temp a.text. Hey, look at that. Even if I take that slash out, it's still serving that file. So I don't think that's good. I don't want that. I want that slash.
Probably some quirks in it somewhere that, I wonder if the star in the root is something that, or if there's just a better way to catch. I think you can give it can you give it a list? So it could be, you could give it temp slash and temp/star or /temp, because you're wanting to catch /temp, right? So either another handle path, or maybe it can take 2 paths on the command line, on the config line. I mean, I'm just doing that without looking at documentation, so I should probably look at documentation.
Fuck the documentation, man. It's supposed to be intuitive.
That's never the case. Come on.
Handle path. So if you go and look at handle path, path matcher. Only a single path matcher is accepted. You cannot use named matchers. This configuration is effectively the same as something is slightly more succinct. Oh, okay, I see. be aware of this thing that they call subfolder problem. What is the subfolder problem? So I was on handle path docs, nice looking docs, always good, well done. But it tells me you can only do a single path. So your intuition was wrong. And then the subfolder is you have something like something for another, self-hosted for radar, and so
there's a redirect in that where they took /sonar to /sonar/ or whatever it was in that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool because that was one of the next things I wanted to sort of like look at was redirect, because you got to do some redirects. I guess they call it reader matcher to code. Okay, so then I would say handle path /temp/star, but right maybe before it I'd say reader.
What was that example that had the sonar in it that you were scrolling down past a minute ago?
The subfolder problem.
Yeah, go back to the top of that. Because there was an example right there that's showing, okay, yeah, it's outside of the handle path.
Reader, yeah, right before their handle path, they said configuration, but disaster strikes and you get a poorly formatted page, maybe the links, maybe the something. This isn't unique. Every single reverse proxy you'd care to name, inherent problem, under an assumption there's certain requests from the web root, and something. Reverse proxy doesn't know the path. This one says this is sort of different than the problem we're having. Because they're also including a reverse proxy. And at this point, we don't have a reverse proxy. We just have a thing where this /temp.
I mean, functionally, it is a reverse proxy. But you're right. You're not using the reverse proxy directive. So you haven't hit that. You haven't hit that challenge. I think
this is what I would want to do. Redirect /temp. And I'm wondering on reader, it says it's a matcher. Matcher syntax is like a star.
Yeah, star path or
like really, it's not a regex, or it's like a glob pattern only.
Right.
Temporary.
I mean, I think it's specifically star or a handler, a named, the @named handler or whatever that is. Or a
that's what I think I want it to do. Reload Caddy. And so now if I go to /temp,
redirected /
it says location is /temp/. So then I end up going to /temp/.
It's funny, we always assume that would work. That was just a default config in Apache that we all assumed would work.
Well, so now my request to this one that looks stupid, temp A, should give me exactly what we wanted, the 404.
Yeah.
Putting the / in properly, it works. Going here, I get this, and it bounces me. So that's what I wanted for both of those. And it feels like I should make the same kind of rule set for my silly foo path and say, okay, if you just say foo, then you actually want foo /.
Right.
It doesn't really seem too terrible since now I understand how these patterns are like used. So that's great. So then in web root, we want to do, oh man, I mean, since we're having so much fun with this, since we're having so much fun with these like directory things, we'll make another one that's we'll just make it go into the PHP path. Why not? And we'll call that one something clever like PHP root, as I'm so clever. Index.php is what you usually call it. So then what happens if I go to /php/? And it tells me a 404. So now we want to do how do you enable PHP?
Well, see, and that's where it doesn't do it natively, right? So you're going to either use fast CGI or you're going to proxy to something running PHP.
Encodes Egypt. So it tells me I have this directive I can use called PHP fast CGI.
Yep.
And here I already had that one open. And so you just give it a bunch of stuff there. Are the addresses of fast CGI servers? I think that exists already on this machine. FCGI. Oh, what? Really? Am I stupid? I feel like I'm doing this in like some kind of terribly stupid way. Yeah, I'm a dumbass. It's FPM.
Yeah. That makes sense.
You are seeing this because something need to enable in Apache. Oh, this is all just noise it's making. You are seeing this message because you have Apache 2 installed. I do. All right. PHP FPM is like running. That was it. I just had to install that. I forgot. FPM, not FCGI. Wrong search term. And then they seems like they have a lot that they've written in there. And then this person just writes the word in their root. It just says fast CGI Unix. It just says Unix whack whack. I feel like it should say Unix colon.
I know, I feel like it should have a colon in there, but
I think your problem is with your try files.
But it does not have the colon in it. It is just Unix / run.
Come on, really?
For the socket path, yeah.
I don't believe you.
There it is.
Oh shit! There it is. Listen.
I mean, this is just connecting to the file socket, file-based socket.
I know, but
right, I know we're used to seeing it as a Unix colon /
something. All right, so I have file server enabled, and then I'll just say this, but that's not the same socket. This one's old.
So I think that has to be outside. So what you would do is you would remove the file server from it, and outside of the handle directive, you reference it with its little @ alias or whatever.
Say that again.
So where you have it currently inside, instead, so your handle path, your handle doesn't have a. I believe that it has to reference it through like either star or at, like at something, right? Well, which you haven't used any in this yet. But I believe you have to reference it for reverse proxy and fast CGI and those types of config. You have to reference it. So you create a handle with basically it's a named handle. I don't know what the hell they call it. That uses the @ label. Probably look at the documentation.
This example right here just says handle path foo, right?
Oh, it does.
Okay. And it just says I can throw fast CGI in that.
Well, maybe you can. I've only seen them where it's outside and referencing it through the alias, but let's do it.
I wonder why they put it before.
It might conflict with file server though.
That's a chance I'm willing to take. So now we're trying to go to PHP, and this first one we should see a redirect location / PHP /. That's fantastic. So then we get / X debug profile cache grind out. That's awesome because
positive.
It's done something. The file's empty.
Well, you redirected it to null, didn't you?
content length 0 is how I saw it.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But that's because in PHP root index.php is empty. We'll do the classic barfing out PHP info. Run it again. I got hella shit on the page. Exactly what I expected. I'm going to turn off Xdebug because we don't need to see that shit right now. And then what happens if you go to PHP root index.html? Wonder if it serves that. Nope. It prefers index.php. Well, that was where this other fella I saw. That's exactly what we wanted. Barfing out my older version of PHP. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Caddy file path routing. Oh, yeah. So on this one, saw this other person having try files, and it says index.html to index.php, and I'm wondering like why you would want to do that. A pattern that I see pretty frequently is where you will have a configuration in Apache or NGINX that tries index.html first if it exists, and then if it doesn't, tries index.php.
I think that was again coming from Apache defaults, though, right? So I've
written it in there. You have to say like directory index, and then you give it a list of file names.
But there was a default. So if you didn't specify it, it would fall back on default.
Index.html.
Yeah.
If you don't say anything, it's out of the box. It's just index.html.
So people who might be expecting it to take an index.html primarily might have learned that in the Apache days.
Yeah.
And so they look for that, right? The same thing, the same reason we look for the slash to work. The no slash to slash redirect to work.
This one is, if the requested file does not exist, try index files, and then assume index.php always exists. First exists, fallback, split path PHP. This seems sort of complicated. This is the expanded form of this directive. Oh, gosh. Oh, well, here you can say,
something complicated.
Here's an override for the default try files. See the try files directive for the default. The default is try the path itself, then try the path with index PHP, then just try regular ass index PHP. And so I wonder if you can just take that and dick about with your Caddy config. Oh, well, how do you do this? Fast CGI.
Yeah, you're adding the directive.
Oh, and then I do a curly bracket and add this shit in there. All right, fast CGI something, curly bracket, my new nonsense. And what was my new nonsense called? Try files. Oh, I recognize that name. So then I would just try path and then path / index.html, then path index PHP. And then I think this index PHP means if it doesn't find it, it's going to just try the one in the site root, which seems not like what I want. But I bet I know why it's there out of the box default is because lots of tools like Joomla and Drupal and WordPress and various other framework tools on the Apache universe, you set it up to just rewrite.
Yep.
And you use like some other config.
Using one file, it's just saying what URL am I being requested by? I'll return you the thing from that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can get pretty URLs, and they have a whole shed load of routers that are like in that thing. Laravel and Yi and Cake and Zen, these other frameworks like to do that stuff out of the box. So, well, we'll do an experiment there because we have path in. So now it's going to be looking for the path, whatever, then the path index.html, then the PHP one in path. Then it's going to look, I think we are assuming that those last two are the site rooted index.html and index.php. Let's just find out real quick. So then I have to go to PHP root, and we'll make another thing in here that's called like just path test. How about something clever like that? Whoops. We'll use that. That's a good example. Okay, so now if I go to just PHP, I get nothing. Sorry, I get that redirect. And then if I go to /PHP, like we're wanting, I get root index.html. Found my root index HTML. But if I can still request index.php and get all this stuff, that's expected behavior. And then what was the directory I just made? Path-test. Path-test. Get that by itself, and it says you need to have a trailing slash. That's fantastic. Then I get it by itself, and it gives me index HTML. That's what I expected it to do, because we're saying look for index HTML first. So then if we go into path test and remove index HTML, now what does it fetch? It gives me index.php. That's what's expected. Now I'll just remove that index.php, and what do I get from path test? Now I'm getting root index HTML. I'll just like turn verbose off. And so that's because now we know path test, it doesn't have anything. And so it's routed me back to here. And from our Caddy,
I mean, that's pretty much
exactly what this, then this. And so I'm going to change the universe and then say, well, now I'll make a file here called main.php, which will be the entry point. So then if we go to path test and put another PHP file in here again. And now, so path test now should give me its index.php. That's awesome. Path test blah, 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 blah gives me the site root index HTML. Oh, because some idiot didn't reload his Caddy. So this should now route into a file that doesn't exist. That's perfect. That file is main.php. So now if we hit that path, now basically now that last file in try files, because it doesn't include curly path, it becomes my final landing point in my rewrite rule, or like if you rigged it up as, oh, my 404 handler is this file, and it gives you a bunch of stuff in the server variable like you would expect. So all that stuff shows up in your Django and your Rails and all of your other stuff like this. I mean, except mine is like, you know, PHP self and stuff like this. So there's another funny trick those folks do with like this path info component of PHP, and like that allows it to send it something like index.php / blah / blah / blah, and it behaves, you know, like you can see this extended path. This should probably be giving a 404, but like that extended path info.
I mean, it's basically using slash like you would use a query parameter.
Yeah, when one of these things in your path is a file that actually exists, and then you can see in the spew, it'll probably be easier to see it from the console. Path info becomes this shit that's been appended to, and then they give you this translated thing. It would be something like this. It's basically saying like, oh, in your request URL, request URI, you requested a file that we know exists. but then you have some extra shit afterwards that looks pathy, forget about it, is what it's doing. That's a trick that some of the other ones use, like Joomla didn't do that. Joomla sent all of your requests to index.php blah, 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 blah.
Well, it's partly because query parameters get excluded in a lot of tooling for a long time, and probably still, right? A lot of analytics tooling would exclude query parameters. So by using slash for your query parameters, that meant that you got explicitly treated. Also SEO, because index.php bunch of things is only one page, whereas index.php / are all different pages. So your single page app actually has many different pages to tooling.
That whole your URL with all those question marks after it being a part of like SEO nonsense, man, that's got to be over.
I don't know. I mean, but these are the reasons this existed, right? It used to be the way, so therefore the tools exist. What it is today, I don't know.
The momentum problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you build an application in 2003 or 2005, and it's still running today. Are you going to revisit the design of how your URLs are structured? No. I mean, you did, but you probably did it about 2011.
Well, maybe in 2025. Why even bother to write fancy routers for the stuff, since all the things you're putting together is like, maybe it's just some API thing, route all the stuff using the way nature intended, air quotes, nature intended, with a path, and then all the other things are actually in the query parameter like they're supposed to be. I'm doing
parameters, right? They're
like a bit of a religious war. Should it be a query string parameter? Or like, do I go to /company/ some database identifier or something, or do I go to /company ? ID equals some nonsense, and like the spec gave us $ID, and then you're like, well, I want to have a friendly URL, so I want company / some ID / some other action, and now you get to spend a bunch of time working on like routing rules in your application. But I think that's probably the last fancy thing to talk about here is routing something. And I think that's the command that is called rewrite rule. This one says you can do no, sorry, that's the wrong thing. Rewrite rule.
Because you're already routing, right? You're some things, right? So you're taking that path prefix and routing it to PHP. You can take that path prefix and route it to a reverse proxy to go to another application too.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like we've got,
and it's just the same style directives.
/PHP we did just to have the location to test with PHP scripts, which is nice because now our other directories, one of the finger waggy things that, caused some danger for the PHP universe was if you had folks upload malicious files into some spot that was then also web executable.
Yep.
So like if this configuration here, in this config here, we'd have these scripts running under /CGI-bin. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean /PHP. And then they upload tools, or all of their uploads get written file system wise, perhaps, into this other web root handle that is /temp, which now is just having the static file server with browse enabled. And that's like a nice little thing or something. But the rewrite, I think, would allow you to do something else, perhaps. And maybe the rewrite has to go first or last. But I'm thinking that rewrite is going to be something like, I want to rewrite something like company /nonsense into /company.
Well, like, so you wanted to rewrite /home, right? So if you wanted to implement the /home tilde or public HTML type of setup, right, you would end up with rewrite rules for that. I believe it ends up having to go into a handle directive.
Well, this. If you can see what I wrote there, I said I want to make it so that using that API, crappy API example. In fact, I'll make it even more obvious. I want to rewrite the request /API/company/ some value, and I want to rewrite it so that it's handled by my /PHP handler. I think that's going to do it.
You can do it directly. Yeah, I'm not sure on I don't know if that matches the pattern matcher or not, but.
Listen, it's not like it's going to catch on fire.
Yeah.
Reload didn't shit the bed. The web server.
I think you'd end up with a star, and then you extract pieces of it on the right side of it.
But now I should be able to go to API/company something. That gives me a 404, sure. Something, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, my favorite company. So that gives me like a 404.
Oh, there's a fail on your reload.
No, there's not.
That's not that connect to localhost isn't from that.
No. In fact, I thought I disabled this.
Oh, is that where it's coming from?
Oh, and now it's trying to do something. Well, wait a second, man. Where's all my log directories and log spew? I feel like I should have a bunch of spew in here.
Yeah, but I believe you're in a system D world. Aren't you in a system D world though?
Yeah.
So are they all under journal D or whatever?
Oh man, I don't know. How would I look at that?
I can't remember. I don't remember how system D logs work. I will never remember how system D logs work.
This thing says you have to do some log directive. Maybe it's going to standard out. Now it looks like this is complicated, man. I didn't want that to happen. I wanted it to have logging like out of the box. But maybe that is. Here's the guy who told me how to remember it. But I don't. So now I have this log and told me it reloaded Caddy. So that's cool. But it's not giving me like access logs and stuff in there.
Yeah, no, because this is just your application logs. You'd have to turn on your access logs.
Dang, man.
Send them to standard out and all, but.
Okay. Let's see if the knows how to do the thing. A network error occurred. Everybody's having problems on the internet today, man. We use this tool called Uptime Robot.
Yeah.
Another one of those monitoring thingies. And it was like not running this morning. And then their sign-in wasn't working and stuff like this, which, sucks for them. But at the same time, it makes me feel sort of like, oh, look, I'm not trash. I wonder if this file is, white space sensitive.
I don't think it is.
What's happening on that server on port 2019? Do you know?
Don't know.
All right. What did I say it was? API/company/1234. Content link. Oh, I'm getting a 404. I'm also confounded why I keep getting these PHP debug issues. I know why. Okay, I think that gave me logging though. Yeah, it did.
Yep.
Looks like it's a little JSON blob that it writes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you can turn on common logs or other formats, but everybody likes JSON these days for arguably good reasons if you're ingesting them into other tools.
No, man. We should.
If you want a common log, you can turn that on.
We should parse delimited, arcanely delimited text with, custom methods every time.
Wasn't it Wealth? Wasn't that the standard for a long time?
I do not recall. Oh yeah, here's the thing with those rewrite. I wanted to remove rewrite. Oh, and you put some curly bracket in there.
The web trends log file, Wealth. Yeah, that was it. Your web trends enhanced log file.
So this person's redirecting well-known to somewhere, but this one is trying to rewrite.
Yep.
Something to this guy's trying to take paths and turn them into query string.
Yep.
Or it looks like Pico CMS, but I'm trying to get rewrite to a new URL, right? Isn't that it? Just rewrite something to a new. Wait a second. Let's just.
Well, because you were trying to particularly take the company ID. It sounded like you were wanting to take the company ID and pass it along, right? So if you just wanted to
send it into company.php, which doesn't exist.
I'll be right back.
Sure. So that didn't do what I wanted it to do either. I thought, so I went to look at my Caddy config here, and then this Caddy config.
Well,
I didn't have a file that was called company.php.
Well, that's fair.
So I said rewrite company/API. I guess maybe my match is at.
Yeah, I don't think that matcher is valid in their syntax.
So if I just say company/
right
star, and then so when they say matcher, they mean glob pattern.
I think there's more advanced stuff that can be done, but I don't think it's in. Let's see.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Change the path in the query string, preserving. So in the rewrite, sorry, I'm looking at these things here, but in the rewrite, you can take the other things that you were handed and put them at the end.
Right. And you can get, I think you can get somewhat complicated with that. If you do path regex, then you can get more. And so then you can do regex extractions and pass those through and do redirects or rewrites using those regex pieces.
Yeah, I'm out. But anyways, that serves up everything that I was thinking about getting it to do. No problemo. Turned out to be very, very easy. There was a little bit of that fiddling with this redirect with the trailing slash, but that got sorted. I don't know the order of these rewrite rules, but I typically put them near the end. typically I put the logging stuff first. But then if you wanted to have rewrite rules in something like this, you would end up having like a company rule. And then I don't know how you would get to like company / update, like I don't, it seems like this pattern matcher is really.
Well, your company.php would be looking at your path that was
all rest of the path.
Yeah.
So you'd have like, well, what else do you have in the system? You have a company and you have a contact. And then those two scripts would then have to do their own sort of like path parsing.
If you wanted to parse it here, you would use path regex, and path regex or path regex, exp path _ reg exp, and you can do the path extraction using this.
Or its regulars runs against the.
But it's a lot easier to codify that inside your language since you have a language available to you.
Match request for the something and the something. So how do you use that?
So the way I use it is in the handle, or in the alias. So I can, let's see. I don't know. I can send you an example. I don't have a good way to send you an example.
Paste it in the meeting chat or something.
Let's see here.
You would have to set this up as some kind of variable name that then gets matched to later or something.
Yeah.
Instead of just having a. You have to do a path regex for here's a something. And so you make that directive first. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. You would have to make something along the lines of, at name, path, regex, and then you do some stuff. And then way later, you write handle at name.
Yeah, because I'm referencing that alias.
Like, oh, it's slash.
And then I'm using the regex result.
Name, path regex. I'm sorry, regex name, and then something, and then you say, I'm gonna say this is like $vars to help me think about it. But then you'd say handle at name that you defined. And then in there, you can use a reader and you can use $vars.1.2, it looks like, from your match.
Yep.
Or something. Okay, well, this is obviously incomplete, and I'm not going to get there. But that means that shows how it's possible if you wanted to do something. Wonder if these are the comment characters.
I think I don't know if it does those. I know it does hashes. I don't know if it does.
So, but that could be the way that you wouldn't just rewrite company this. You would have a path regex for your complicated API URL that would then match against /API/ list of object names that I accept / regular expression that matches what my IDs should look like / optional sub.
That said, it's so much easier to just redirect your path into your code, let your code handle all of that extraction and management in one place. This was great when we were doing it for static files on a file system.
I mean, I'm with you, but it also allows you to, if you have the rewrites in here, it allows you to not have them in your code. I mean, I think there's a balance on either one of those.
It does let you exclude things from your code so that your code doesn't have to do that processing. Absolutely.
Now it's just like send it into the thing, and the code can make some very reasonable assumptions about the universe. Well, assumptions that we think are reasonable about the universe. And sort of just like, if I have this thing, or shit the bed.
I think that right, and I think that there's the challenge I've often seen there is finding that balance between code that doesn't know enough. So if you find a path that gets you to the code, then the code didn't exclude something it should have excluded.
Yeah, or your config didn't.
Now you've got it in two places. The reason we put it up here is as a filter, but it should not be all the rules should be in the code to prevent it from doing something it shouldn't do, because we may fail in our filters, or we may have accidentally turned it on without those filters yet, right? We've turned this application up for the first time. We're still building and figuring out what we need to exclude. Make sure your code understands that it should only do what it's only supposed to do. Never assume that its inputs are valid.
Right. I agree with that.
And yeah, there's no block comment. It's just pounds.
Just pounds?
Just hashes, pounds.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
That is unfortunate for me. Well, anyways, this worked out exactly like I wanted it to. Much faster than I thought it was going to be. You know, sitting down to learn another tool, something like this is generally, you know, it can be a bit of a struggle. You know, and that's was, you know, it was one of those things about nice opinionated tools too. They show up and they do a bunch of stuff sort of like one expects them to be. You know, the try files default and example that they provided gets me what I wanted to get, and was one of those things that I would sometimes have to struggle to dial in Apache or NGINX with multiple lines of config. No thinking for the SSL was pretty dang amazing. And he's like, oh, here's how to make a static server. Like I wrote redirect to do it for /foo, but there's no reason that this wouldn't be like your /CSS or your /JS or image or video directory, or, you know, where you're talking about reverse proxies or something like this. Maybe next time we could like dump this thing out and it reverse proxies, but also offers some caching to some static assets on the back end. I mean, something else to dig on, you know, for my, I don't know if I'd want to do that for video files or something like that, but, you know, for a couple of static text assets that it gzips, which it looks like I have to enable that manually too. No big deal. And then keeping the log inside of my server context, I think that's pretty cool, because, you know, you can then make your log file always be to include the host name. I wonder if I can get a variable in there. I notice they have some like curly braces. Could I do curly braces host or something? Something to find out later.
There is sort of some ways to do it at your config, manage your logging at a global level, but it is kind of awkward. It's really designed to manage your logging at a I have a directive called logging that sets up access logs and stuff like that, and then I import that into each of them. So it's sort of possible, but it's not. It's still managed really per site.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. Like, then the general options, turn on some debugging. You can put logging at the top level, auto HTTPS with various mechanisms. I guess I didn't even have to put my own email in there for the Acme blah, blah, blah. That's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I only have it set up for the staging CA. Maybe that's where I have my email. I don't know.
Well, this is cool.
Yeah.
Good times.
Go, man.
All right, that's a wrap.